Tired of looking like a fool when your cakes aren't cool?
Uh-oh, wasting another weekend working overtime on a painting project?
The pan, the can. Tired of the drips and spills that make painting such a chore?
Mom and dads will never clean up messy drink spills again.
You squish, you press, but your patties are a mess.
And with dish soap bottles, you really need an extra set of hands. You want to keep warm when you're feeling chilled.
No more squishing and squashing.
Leaves you in a tangled mess.
Oh no, what a mess.
You just want to quit.
Are you fed up with
Splatters and nasty splatters.
scraping, scrubbing,
No.
fire?
Cut.
Process.
You're messy.
Giant puff. You're totally out of luck.
It's not working. I hate it when things don't work. How many of you are with me? I hate it. The car doesn't start. It's not time to get jumper cables or a battery. It's time to get a new one. I'm frustrated. Oh, I get so mad. The phone doesn't work. The phone, how many of you hit the phone? How many of you hit the phone with your finger? You do this right here. It's not working. The computer's not working. The internet is not. If everything's going to run on the internet, then the internet has to work. That is all that I'm saying, okay? The drill doesn't work. It's out of battery. What happens to me all the time is the saw is broke. I get the board and the board is crooked. The saw is broke. Maybe it's me with the saw. I don't know. But I cannot stand when things are broken. It is so frustrating. I grew up. My dad is a fixer. He's a tinkerer. So he likes broken things. Like, I think he invited broken things. He wanted a car that was broke. Oh, it doesn't work? Oh, I want that. And I was like, I hated that. He was a tinkerer, But I get so frustrated when things aren't working because they're supposed to work. Things are supposed to work, and it's not working. Now, I grew up in church. That's how I grew up. That was my life. And so, if there was anything that was kind of old school church and kind of things we did in church, I tend to stay away from that. We did things like repeat after me, and I had to try and stay with the pastor, and I was always off rhythm, or he would say, tell your neighbor something. But I thought today we could go back just for a minute to old school church. It would be okay. So tell somebody next to you, your kids, your friends, your relationship. Don't tell them that this isn't working, but just tell them don't say that. This isn't working. No, don't say that. That's not what we're trying to do, but just say it's not working. Everybody say it. It's not working. I told myself I would never do old school church, but I thought today was perfect for that, and we'll save one more for later. But if there's one thing the Bible is full of, it's full of this. It's not working. It is full of people and their stories and their jobs and their friendships and their ministry. And the Bible is full of things not working. You think of Abraham and Sarah couldn't have kids. Things weren't working. I think of Joseph being sold into slavery by his brothers. That's not what he wanted. It wasn't working. Esther and her people, the Jews, were experiencing racism. They wanted to kill all of them. Life wasn't working. I think of Saul to Paul. He was out killing Christians. That's not working, okay? That's not what we're doing. In fact, Jesus had to tell him it's not working. But Gideon was hiding. David was working for Saul, and Saul wanted to pin him to the wall, okay? It was not working. It's not working. Have you ever been there? Have you ever been there where things weren't working? Maybe you're sitting in here now in church today, and things aren't working. I wrote down some things. I kind of put together a list, and just maybe to get, kind of our minds going here, just different ideas. A relationship isn't working. A friendship, co-workers, a boss relationship, maybe a job isn't working. Maybe it's gotten older, it's gotten frustrating, or maybe the pay isn't what it needs to be. Maybe the finances aren't adding up. just so many things that isn't working. Maybe you've saved your whole life and planned for retirement, and this retirement concept isn't working. Or, I'm not doing what I used to do, and I wish I was doing back what I used to be doing. Or, my calling isn't happening fast enough like I thought it would. Or maybe my health isn't working, or I'm stuck. Or maybe we're even looking in the mirror and asking ourselves, am I done? Am I done? That can be very, very difficult. Or what am I doing? Am I done, or what am I doing? Who am I? See, life sometimes doesn't work like we think it should work. And things are broken, and it's just not quite right. And I want to ask you today, does anyone live in real life like I live in real life? Does anybody know what I'm talking about, where it's not working? Turn to John chapter 21, and I want to look at an example here. And this definitely was a professional example. These were guys out on the job here, and things weren't working. And I want to kind of bring it into reality, into our lives. And we're going to look at the disciples here in the end of John as they were going on a fishing trip. And they were out fishing and working in John chapter 21, and we're going to start here in verse 3. Simon Peter said, I'm going fishing. We'll come too. They all said, not knowing probably what they were getting into. So they went out in the boat, but they caught nothing all night. They caught nothing all night. This is why I don't go fishing. This is why I hate fishing. My son loves to fish. I've never fished. What I do is I cast. I'm really good at casting. So if anybody says, David, you want to go fishing? Sure, I'd love to cast with you. That's what I do. I do a lot of casting, And then you have that one where you're like, oh, got something, seaweed, or whatever, the grass or whatever it is. Or I hook someone else's pole and then they're mad at me. Why did you come with us? I don't know. I'm never coming again. So I feel like these disciples every time that I go out casting because I don't fish. But in verse 4, it says, at dawn, Jesus was standing on the beach, but the disciples couldn't see who he was. He called out, fellows, have you caught any fish? And you could just imagine, here they are in frustration. No, we have not caught any fish. And then he said, throw your net on the right-hand side of the boat and you'll get some. So they did it, and they couldn't haul in the net because there were so many fish. They caught 153 fish. I've actually tried to apply this verse to mine, and it does not work. I try and put it on the other side of the boat. It does not work for me, but it worked for them in this moment. But it says they fished all night. And what did they catch before Jesus walked up? They caught nothing all night long. Could you imagine being a part of this fishing trip? All right? You're sitting there and you're like, I'm not catching anything. Peter, let's go. And he's like, no, let's stay out here. Why did we come with him? It's so what do you think the conversations were? It was a lot of frustration, right? It was a lot of anger. I hate this. I'm going to do something else. I don't want to be a fisherman anymore. But there was a lot of complaining, And so there was a lot of talking about what wasn't happening. And see, that's what we do when we are frustrated, is we talk a lot about what isn't happening. When things aren't working, it's so natural, it is so easy for us to talk about what isn't working. But I think what is better, what we need to talk about is why isn't it working? Sometimes we're more focused on reporting what happened instead of figuring out why it is happening. See, the what can get us stuck where we're at, and the why can help push us to the next level. When things aren't working, it's easy to throw away the thing than to figure out why and then to fix the thing. In fact, I think the what over time cannot be healthy if we're focused on the what. See, why weren't they catching any fish? There's so many reasons why things aren't working. There's so many reasons why things aren't working. It's different in every situation. It could be the right thing at the wrong time. It could be they're in the right thing. It could be the wrong thing, and it's the right time to do something different. Could be wrong thing and wrong time, the old double negative, not good. Could be right thing, right time, need to fix how we're doing it. But why aren't we happy? Why are we frustrated? Why is it not working? And I tried to put a little list together. If you're sitting here today and you're frustrated in a situation, a work situation, a family situation, a relationship situation, whatever it is, I tried to put a list together, and this isn't probably everything, and I wasn't smart enough maybe for that, but I came up with the 4 that I could come up with. And so just a list of 4 things. Why isn't it working? Number 1, as we're trying to answer the why, as we're trying to push through the frustration of the what, number 1, maybe we got to have patience and wait on God. Maybe it's the right thing, but the wrong time. Because it takes time. Maybe we're in the process of something. Maybe God is building something in us. Maybe God is working something in us, and He is preparing the way. Maybe He is preparing something, and it is going to be big, but right now we have to go through the process, and the process is not always fun. Sometimes it's not working, and things are frustrating us, but God is setting us up for something that is big, but right now it's not working. Right now it's not working. Maybe it's a hurt, and maybe God is healing a hurt, but the healing of hurts take time, and they are a process, and it doesn't feel like it's healing, but every day it can get a little bit better. Every moment it can get a little bit better. And so the first thing, as we're sitting here and we're going through frustration, as we start to figure out why, maybe the why is we're in the right place, but we need to give God a little more time. Maybe we're in the right place and God is building something in us and we can't see it and we don't even know it, but we've got to stay right where we're going. Number 2, another thought. Maybe we need to make a change. Maybe it's the right time to make a change because we're doing the wrong thing. It's not working because it's time to make a change. It's time to do something different. Why is it working? Well, why isn't it working? Because we're not doing the right thing. See, the disciples were fishing and Jesus called them to make a change. David was working for Saul and it was time to make a change. Maybe things are frustrating right now, but maybe God is using that frustration to push us to make a change. But see, we've got to figure out why. Because just because it's frustrating doesn't mean we need to make a change. Maybe we need to stay right where we're at. And so this is where when it's not working, we got to figure out why. A third thing, I thought maybe it's broken. Why is it working? Maybe it's broken, and maybe we broke it. Why is this isn't working? Maybe we broke it. I used to play tennis back in high school, and I was a smidge bit competitive and got frustrated very quickly. And so my racket fell out of my hand a lot. My dad would get so mad at me. But I can't tell you how many times I would get so mad, and I would chunk the racket down, and it would snap the head on the racket. Then my dad said, "Now what are you going to do? Borrow your other one," you know. But maybe things aren't working because we broke them. Maybe things aren't working. You know, Jonah went in the opposite direction of God. God told him, "Hey, I want you to go and do this." And Jonah went and did that. Jonah went in the opposite direction. In fact, you remember if you haven't read the story of Jonah in a while, he's sitting in this boat going in the opposite direction. A storm comes. It's really bad. The sailors are like, "Look, something must be wrong. It must be someone here." And they find out it's Jonah. And Jonah's like, "Yep, it's me. I'm going in the wrong direction." See, things were broken. Why in Jonah's life? He broke them. Jonah went in the wrong direction, and things were frustrating, and he created the frustration. Sin can do that. Disobedience can do that. And we need to make a change, not a change in where we're living or the job we're doing, but it's how we're doing what we're doing because we broke it. And then the fourth one, the last one, maybe just our form is off. Maybe our form is off. Maybe we're doing the right thing and it's the right time for that thing, but maybe we're just going about it the wrong way. You know, if you've just started working out and it hurts really bad, you know, maybe you tweak your back working out and you're like, that's it, see, I knew it, this is stupid, I don't even know why I started working out. No, it's the right time to work out, you should work out, you just need to learn how to not do it the wrong way, you know. And so maybe we don't need to throw the thing away. Maybe we need to figure out, you know, well, I'm just not making enough money. No, maybe we need to become a little more fiscally responsible. Maybe we need to learn how to make a budget and not spend more than we make. Maybe we're at the right job, living in the right place, doing the right thing. We're just spending more than we make. And so maybe it's not what we're doing, it's how we're doing what we're doing. Maybe our form is off and we need to tweak some things. So how do we figure this out? Let's get into this. See, the disciples were fishing and they didn't catch anything all night. It was not working. And then here walks up this guy. He says, how's it going? Have you caught any fish? And they're like, no. They're frustrated. And then he says, put your nets on the other side. How do you think that news hit them, right? Imagine you're in the boat, you're fishing all night, you're like me, you're a caster, you went into this with a bad attitude, you only went because your friend wanted you to go, you're stuck in the boat, he's that die-hard guy. You ever been with a die-hard hunter? The one that gets up at 3 a.m. because it's going to be light in 3 hours? And stays past lunch even after they've already bagged 2 deer. You know what I'm saying? The die-hard one, the one who's rubbing themselves with dough pee and then they're going out. The die-hard guy, don't ever ride on the back of the four-wheeler with them because you're not coming home, okay? You're not coming home. When you go out with the die-hard, take your own boat, okay? No, I'll wave at you from across the lake, but I'm leaving after it's terrible, okay? The die-hard stays. And so they're out there with Peter, and Jesus said, put your nets on the other side. What do you think the response is? Put your nets on the other side. That's what he said. Okay, I'm going to put my nets on the other side. Yeah. Why didn't I think of that? No fish on this side of the boat, but of course, there's fish on this side of the boat. I mean, how do you think this news hit them? Yeah, oh, thanks, man. Yeah, dude, good idea. Nets on the other side. Whoa. You're the man. Who is this guy? He's an idiot. You know? I mean, come on. When things aren't working, advice like that is more frustrating than the frustration. And here they are. And maybe they were so desperate that someone's like, can't hurt. And someone's like, you know, Peter, if we do this, will you let's just take us in, you know. Maybe someone did it just to get Peter to take them in. And they did it. And they caught 153 fish. Now, you got to realize John chapter 21 is after John chapter 20. And John chapter 20 is when Jesus was crucified. So at this point, to them, Jesus was gone. He was dead. They didn't know who this guy was. And it says after they caught the fish, they began to question, who is this guy? But then it said, no one dare ask who it was. You know why? They knew it's the Lord. Because you don't go from catching no fish, putting the nets on the other side of the boat, and now we're catching fish. When things aren't working, and then you hear from the Lord and they start to work, you know that's God. The disciples were here, and here's the thing. Who told them what to do? Jesus did. See, before we go and do anything, we need to make sure we've heard from the Lord. When things aren't working, and we start to try and figure out why they aren't working, before we just stay right here and be patient, we need to know that we've heard from the Lord to stay right here and be patient. Before we go and make a major change in our life, we need to make sure that we've heard from the Lord before we take the nets out and put them on the other side. See, we got to seek and hear from God. But here's the thing, most of the time, God has already spoken to us. We just don't like or agree or want to hear what He has to say. See, many times God has spoken to us. We know what it is that we're supposed to be doing, but we just don't want to do it. See, we ignore what we've heard from God. Maybe we say to ourselves, maybe this isn't God, and we try and dismiss what God told us. Because see, on one hand, maybe we know that we've heard from God, but on the other hand, it's not working, and it's really frustrating. It's not working, and I'm mad. It's not working, and I'm mad at the world and everyone that God put in it. See, it's not working. What do? We've got to do whatever Jesus says to do. We got to do whatever God tells us to do. See, God told Gideon to change what he was doing. God told the disciples, it's the right time. It's the right place, but you're going about it the wrong way. See, Joseph heard from God, but God said it's not time yet. You're in the process, and you need to keep going. Maybe we need to wait. Maybe we need to change. Maybe we need to keep going. It all depends on what God tells us to do. Melissa and I know a couple who went through a very challenging, very difficult situation a few years back. They got married, and as a young couple, they were both working. They had 2 incomes. And then, of course, then came time to have children, and they decided, hey, your income is good enough. I'm going to stop working. I'm going to be here and raise the kids. Hey, you're at a good job. Looks like you've got a good place that you're headed. You're going to be promoted, good benefits, and I think, I really believe that we can do this. And so they step out there, they have kids, they get going, and all of a sudden he loses his job. He loses his job. He's got a house payment. They've got kid payments, because that's what kids are, right? We've got 2 kid payments, 2 car payments, and a house payment, right? Those are the 5 really tough payments right there. Some kid payments are more than others, Wish we could trade them in and upgrade. You can't do that. It's not right, not biblical, okay? Would never do that. But here they are going through a very difficult time. Now they had planned, they had savings. And so then you dip into the savings as you start looking for another job, and the right job isn't coming about, and it's not working, and you start watching that savings do this and this and this, and you zero's coming. And when zero comes, then you're selling the house, then you're selling the car. And it is tough. Things weren't working. Fast forward a little bit later, he gets another job, similar type thing, making more money, and he enjoys it more than the one that he has before. God does a work in their lives. They get more focused financially. And it becomes, in talking with him, he said, it's the best thing that could have ever happened to us. But you don't say that in the middle of it. When you read the Bible, something bad happens, they pray, and God solves it. And you can do that all in a 15-minute devotional, right? So Monday morning, God has a bad problem, give it to God, God solves it. But we live in real life, right? We have a problem, we pray to God, nothing happens. We pray to God, nothing happens. Pray to God, nothing happens. And then it's over. God is building something, and it's over here. But you never say that when you're right in the middle of the thing. Maybe you're sitting here today and all you know is it's not working. Everyone in this place needs to know that God is always working in the background on our behalf, even when we don't understand it, even when we can't see it. See, in the middle of the situation, that's not something that we can grab a hold of in our mind. That's not something that we can see what God is building. But this is the part of trusting God. This is the part of faith. This is the part of being in a relationship with Him that we have to do. We got to seek Him. We have to wait on Him. We've got to trust Him. We have to pray to Him. But you know, in our busy world, that's just not a natural response. In our busy world, that's just not a natural reaction. When things aren't working, sometimes it's easy to feel like we aren't close to God anymore. I think anytime it's not working, and anytime it's not working for a long period of time, that is definitely the feel that we get on the inside, is I'm not as close to God as I used to. And here's what we have to know. And I'm going to repeat this twice. I've watched Josh Barnett do this, so it's something that's going to be good. I'm going to repeat it a second time, and it means it's really good. That's what Josh does. It's a theological impossibility for your situation to separate you from God. It's a theological impossibility for your situation to separate you from God. And I want you to go to another passage here before we bring this to the end. Turn to Romans chapter 8. And in Romans chapter 8, Paul gives us a list of situations. And when things aren't working, we have to realize it's just a situation. The problem is when we're going through a situation, it's all consuming. When we're going through a situation, it's all that we can see. And whenever you don't feel God, whenever you don't sense God, whenever you don't believe He is there, we have to do what Paul does and say, it's just a situation. And he gives us a list of situations here, and here's what we have to stand on today, is a situation cannot, will not, does not have the power to separate us from God, even though we may feel like it does. Look at this in Romans chapter 8, verse 35. He starts off by saying, can anything separate us from the love of God? And then he gives us the situations here. And I want you to look at the situation. Maybe you find yourself in one. Verse 35, the first situation is trouble. When you are in trouble, trouble is a situation. If you're in hardship, hardship is a situation. Or are you persecuted? That's a situation. What's persecution? Someone doesn't like you. They talk about you. They don't think well of you. That's a situation. Maybe you're hungry. Maybe you're destitute. Maybe it's something that you don't have. See, I don't have this. That's a situation. Or you're in danger. Here we go. He's going to step it up and get serious. Maybe you're threatened with death or life. That's a situation. Neither angels nor demons, neither are fears for today, what I'm dealing with, or I'm worries for tomorrow, what's facing me, what's coming, what's ahead of me that I cannot see, that I don't understand. See, that is a situation. Not even the powers of hell, nor the powers in the sky above or in the earth below. Watch this. Nothing in all creation will ever be able to separate us from the love of God. And this is what we have to stand on. If you're in the middle of a situation today, if it's not working, you need to know this. Because when it's not working is when you do not feel close to God. And the temptation is because when you don't feel it, the temptation is not to run to Him. Paul is saying here, if you can name a situation, I can point to something that is bigger. See, if you remember to Philippians chapter 2, verse 9, God said, I gave Him the name, Jesus, that is above every name. And what Paul is saying here is we have to name our situations. And when you can name your situation, I'm going to give you something that is above that. I'm going to give you a name that is above your situation. And we have to know that God is above our situation. It doesn't matter what we did, what we said, what we went through, what happened, what is going on, what it looks like, what you think you're headed toward. It's impossible for your situation to separate you from your source. If Josh was up here, he'd read this a second time. It's impossible for your situation to separate you from your source. And let's go back old school. That's why I had to get the rust off and us say something. Everybody say, it's just a situation. Felt like I was 5 years old again right there. Come on, old school church. We need to blow a trumpet in Zion now. We need to go back to the old songs right there. Come on, sound the alarm. Come on, y'all know those? Come on, who grew up in church? Come on, blow a trumpet in Zion. Come on. Yeah, I couldn't stand it either. Come on, it's just a situation. It's not working. It's not working, but it's just a situation. It's not our identity. It's just a situation. And what you went through isn't you. But evaluating our situation without considering the source is what always gets us when we evaluate what you're going through. Come on, it's just a situation. As we bring this together, let me tell you why this is so close to my heart. Over this last week, over the last couple of weeks, there was a pastor in California who committed suicide. And what's really tough is, and that young pastor, 30s, and his wife has posted about it, and she was very gracious. And I'm not here to talk bad about him or anything like that. But when you look at his social media, when you look at her social media, when you watch him on YouTube, when you just hear the sermon, he's really good, powerful, awesome. And I think sometimes we take somebody like that and we put him up on a pedestal, but he's a person. He's a husband, he's a dad, he's an employee, he's a co-worker. And it wasn't working in his life, and his wife in blogging shared about. She was very open and honest that he was dealing with a lot of depression. He was dealing with a lot of things internally that just weren't working. And he was pushing through. He was going on with life, but he was going through a situation, and it wasn't working. And I have to quit reading her stuff. And I started reading her stuff this morning. I started crying even more. And what she said about him, it was just crazy. Things that I know Melissa would say about me. And I think, but she said he was an amazing husband. He truly made me better. He made me feel like the most beautiful girl in the world. And he loved me so deeply. And, she just was very, very open and sharing things. I'm just sitting there and I'm crying. And she just said, I didn't think our journey would end so soon. But things just weren't working, and it became all-consuming. And that's what happens. When things aren't working, they become all-consuming in our lives, and it can push us to where we say it's not worth it anymore. Frustrating things become devastating things, which become overwhelming things. Overwhelming things become depressing things that become hopeless things, and then a breaking point happens. And then in his life, suicide became an option. And I wonder if anyone in this room has ever had a situation. I wonder if anyone in this room right now is in a situation. And I'm not talking about a Sunday morning situation. You know what I'm saying? How's it going? It's going good. I'm not talking about a Sunday morning situation. I'm talking about a Monday morning driving to work situation when no one else is around. I'm talking about in your office. I'm talking about in your house. I'm talking about late at night. I'm talking about in deep in our hearts that are real. It's not working. And maybe you're in here and you've been focused on the what and speaking the what, or maybe you're in the process of the why and you're trying to figure out the why. Do I need to just stick it out because God is building something in me? Or did I break it? Or maybe I need to make a change, or maybe I'm doing everything right but my form is off and I need to learn how to make it better, but all I know is it's not working and it's pushing me in a wrong direction. It's not pushing me in a right direction. And really, when things aren't working, there's only two options. I want there to be a third option. I wish there was a third option. But there's only two options. It's quit or keep going. It's quit or keep going. And I want to speak to those here today who are tired of it not working. And I asked Brandon and Courtney to come and to end the service with us, because I want today to start a process of us seeking God, seeking the why, seeking the answer, and us figuring this thing out. It's not working. Now what? Because you read in the Bible from people going from it not working to prayer to it being answered, but that is a process that takes a while. And what happens when we're sitting in the middle of that process? I want us to stand here this morning, and I just want to move, and I want us to close today by our worship leaders leading us to spending time with God. If you need to worship, I want you to worship. If you need to hit an altar, we've got them in the front, in the middle, and the back. If you need to hit an altar, hit an altar. If you need to hit your knees, hit your knees. If you need someone to pray for you, there are people right here next. We are the church. We will pray for one another. If you need to sit there and cry, if you need to go to the altar and cry, whatever it is that you need to do, but He is our answer when we don't have the answer. And I want to encourage you, don't worship because you need the answer. Worship because He is the answer. Don't pray because you need the answer. Pray because He is the answer. Because there is a place in Him when it's not working that He can bring healing. And so I want Brandon and Courtney to lead us in worship today. And let's have church. Let's not attend church here this morning. It's not working. Let's be real.